Hi, welcome to a video review slash recap of season 2, episode 1 of Severance. This episode is titled Hello, Miss Cobell. So let's get right into it. The scene that we have here is Mark coming back down the elevator, and he's obviously in a panic. He didn't know if he was fired or not last season, and he's running around. Something I noticed is a lot of the chairs and scenery in this is like green, like a very dark green color. And as he's panicked and going around the hallways, it seems like it's almost like he's a rat in a maze. Up next, we see that Milchek has taken over Cobell's old office, and he is now the manager of the severed floor. The scenes everywhere is very heavy on the blue because obviously Lumen, and they want to have that corporate feeling. And then the balloons, just as kind of a, I don't know, Easter egg or thing that I noticed is all the balloons kind of look like a reverse or an upside down Lumen logo. And that does kind of play into so too as well. And then next after that, Mark is introduced to his new team on the floor, and everyone's kind of, I don't know, standoffish. He's obviously wanting his old team back. And one of the first things they ask him is like, hey, where's a pen or something like that? And he goes to the supply closet, which is kind of where they were doing their secret meetings and everything like that. And it's stacked, floor to ceiling with paper. So obviously their meetings were kind of known. And later on, we do find out about that. So the colors there, though, is red, green, blue, which is RGB and color space and stuff like that. I don't know if there's too much significance to that yet, but I did notice it just right away because it's, of course, contrasting everything else. Of course, Mark continues to conflict with the new coworkers and everything like that. He writes a note and tries to get one of them fired or in trouble, whatever. It was immediately caught by Milchek and everyone, and it's just kind of a ridiculous thing, but he's showing that he is bucking back against the new team. Finally, after a while, Mark kind of gets fed up with all of it, and he runs down the hall or sneaks out, something like that. I can't remember exactly. And he ends up going into Cobell's office, which is now Milchek's office. He grabs the video speaker thing and tries to talk to the board and ask them where his team is, and tries to play into a little bit of humanity of saying, like, I want you to do the right thing for severed people and everything, which is interesting because the board's always been kind of this faceless, soundless thing that is, of course, overseeing the company. So after all of that, he talks to Milchek, takes the speaker away and sends him back up the elevator. And it's kind of, he's thinking, am I fired or what? And he comes back. We don't actually see the Audi this time, but he does come back. And there's this painting of Kier with a sword, and it looks like the four of his original team. I don't know if it's quite like a forgiveness painting or what, and we're not sure kind of how much time has passed at this point. After that, he finds the rest of his team. They all start popping out of doors, and of course they all meet up together. And then Mrs. Wong, which is the new Milchek, I guess. She's like, I don't know. They don't say how old she is, but she's like a kid. It doesn't make sense with the company really, but that's a new twist for this season. She leads them to a new room, but going into it, we feel like they're going into the break room. So they're kind of all thinking they're in trouble, and all four of them end up going in at the same time. When they get to the end of the door, what used to be the break room has been replaced by a new room that has some purple lights in it, which is kind of random. And then it has a projector screen, and they're shown this really trippy video. You'll have to see the episode because it's too hard to even describe, but it's like some animated thing from Lumen saying basically that we care about your, feelings, and that we're addressing things and we're making changes to the severed. So it's kind of interesting that it's so flipped, but again, with this show, everything's kind of a mind game, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. During that sequence, though, we do see a bunch of scenes where they thought they were talking in private, and it turns out that they were actually being recorded or they were being filmed because it reenacts it in this video with like puppets, basically. After that, they're told that there's no more cameras in the building and that there are no more microphones, so they're not going to be recorded or filmed, apparently, throughout, moving forward. And then they're told that they can either go home and, effectively end their innie's existence, or they can stay and continue on with the company. But basically they're being forgiven, alluding to there's going to be this reform or that there's going to be a change from within. After that, they're kind of trying to discuss, they discuss amongst each other because they're still not sure if they're actually being recorded or not, but they start discussing their Audi's lives. And then, of course, Helly lies about hers because of what she knows. So she just makes up like a generic thing of, oh, I was in an apartment and all this. So that's interesting because she's not being completely truthful with the rest of the team. Following that, Irving tries to leave / quit / die by going through the severed threshold, but he's stopped by Dylan. They kind of go back and forth and everything like that, but eventually Dylan seems to convince him to stay, and then Irving gives him a hug and like whispers that his Audi was painting the doors with the red arrow down and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, there's dozens of them and everything. So it is interesting that he's being more truthful than Helly was. And Irving seems to kind of be like an honesty character. And then after that, we're going to Milkcheck's office, which still has the Hello, Mrs. Cobell, which is, of course, the episode title on the computer screen. He's asking for it to be updated and everything. And Dylan is actually called into his office, where he shows Dylan they're going to do a revamp of what I assume is the wellness center, looking at kind of the schematic of it, into a family visitation center. And he's telling Dylan, like, keep this a secret from everyone else. And, we're not letting everyone know. But I do find it interesting that either they're trying to cause division between the team, or they're concerned because Dylan was the only one that didn't actually go out to see his Audi or flip-flop with his Audi at the end of the first season. And then lastly, we see the team is all back together. They're back to work. They're happy, sort of, it seems like, because they are back to the same team that they remember. So they're into it. They're sorting, they're doing macro data refinement, they're doing all that good stuff. That's kind of is close to the closing shot. But this screen pops up right at the end, and it's the craziest thing. If you blink and you miss it, the project name, which is Cold Harbor, which you do see them working on in the previous shot on the computers, and then you're seeing a heart rate monitor, cell reproduction, that's what it looks like, and then the sorting at the bottom. So when you have this and you have her face on there, it's just a headcanon moment. So that was totally a hook, of course. Thanks again for watching. If you like these recaps, reviews, whatever you want to call them, please subscribe. I'll continue doing them for the rest of the second season, and then I might go back and actually do season 1 of these. Thanks again.